Finally get ownership of the land that they have occupied in Bruceville. Land which has been surveyed in a preliminary way. It was a government which I led through the then Ministry of Education led by Mario Michel that brought universal secondary school education and made sure that every St. Lucian child got a place in a secondary school in this country. Never again did we have a shift system. As a matter of fact, we made a major error at the time. No one had foreseen the decline of the birth rate in St. Lucia as rapidly and as quickly as it occurred, so that today we have more school places than we have children to be accommodated. What a revolution! Never mind the mistake of the planners of our time, but no child in this country can ever again be denied a place in a secondary school. And you'll remember that it was a government that I led, which was a pioneer, that provided every child in Form 4 of a secondary school with a laptop. You remember that I said that the face of education was changing. The teachers of today will not be the teachers of tomorrow, and we have to be prepared. When I urged that investment, I did not know that AI would dominate our lives the way it is now dominating our lives. And I fear, like you, that the teachers that we know today may well become obsolete as AI takes over the task of educating our children. What drama, what changes will occur? I will not be around. I will be long gone. But then I will ask you to remember me in memory. And perhaps then you remember tonight and what I said to you. You were the poor, the destitute, the forlorn, the forgotten. No one ever cared about you until the St. Lucia Labour Party was elected to office. You remember well. You remember well the little gestures. The government that I led made sure that the family of every child admitted to a secondary school in this country got a little token amount of $500 to help them with their school expenses. I said a while ago, we pioneered housing repair program for the elderly, the forlorn, the distressed, the poor, the vulnerable. I told you about the introduction of the program of free medication for persons suffering with diabetes and hypertension, as we started to pave the way for universal health care. And you know, this remains to me such a major policy plank that never a day passes when I hope and pray that this Labour government will move far more quickly in introducing universal health care, so that once and for all, we will not allow St. Lucians to be embarrassed and beg other countries to provide them with health care. We must bring an end to the humiliation and embarrassment of our people as they go up and down to other countries to ask them to sponsor them, to pay for them, and to give them health care that they cannot get in their own country. I told you tonight is not a night to speak about my legacy. That's a different address altogether. Because these days, they're all over television. They're asking all kind of Tom, Dick, and Harry about the legacy of Kenny Anthony. What is the legacy of Kenny Anthony? Yes. And I remind you that we are the ones who ensured the design and commencement of the OKEU hospital that exists today. And of course too, many of you will remember that it was a Labour government led by me that introduced steps to provide a modicum of income to the poor and to the marginalized. And you remember, every time the United Workers' Party came into office, STEP was their first target. STEP was the first program that they abolished. And I have tried repeatedly to explain to them that we inherited a country in which significant numbers of our people never had the opportunity for secondary education, never had the opportunity to learn a skill, that many of them could not have afforded secondary education. And we had a responsibility to ensure that there was fairness in this society, that there was peace, there was tranquility, and we needed to make sure that everyone, despite their status in life, had an opportunity to benefit from the policies of the government of the day, so that we can have social peace, participation, and our people would be able to join and participate in this economy. I even forgot. It was a government that I led that gave our young people modern sporting infrastructure. Like you, I lament what has happened to what is now St. Jude Hospital. I pray that the hospital under construction will be completed soon. And I can only hope that the sporting community will be given the George Odlum Stadium once again, and that is done quickly. And I honor, respect, and applaud the fact that this Labour government under Philip J. Pierre is continuing most of the programs initiated by the administrations which I led over 3 terms. And it is great credit to him that he is also adding to the programs which have been inherited. I know that there have been occasions when I have disappointed some of you. Still, despite your disappointments, you have believed in me, trusted me, because you know who I am. I know you were disappointed when I chose not to join the cabinet after the last general election. And I owe you an explanation, because we have not spoken about it. I will give you that explanation. And I hope after you have heard my explanation, you will understand that there are still politicians in this country who can think about the country as a whole, who can think about St. Lucia, and who could put aside their own emotional wants and desires, and who can put their country first. Some of you believe that the only way for a constituency to benefit is for its parliamentary representative to be in the cabinet, to have a seat at the table. And you are not wrong, because sometimes our cabinets do not understand that all constituencies matter in equal measure. Some may have wants greater than others. And precisely because there is something called equity, there must be absolute fairness in the treatment of all constituencies. And it is not because a particular representative sits at a cabinet or on a cabinet table that the cabinet should be used as a mechanism to divert all resources or the bulk of resources to the constituency represented by that individual. But I said to you that this thinking is myopic, it is simplistic, and it is archaic. As I have always said, what happens when the membership of the House of Assembly is increased from 17 to 21 or to 25 or maybe 30 members? Do we make every parliamentarian a minister or parliamentary secretary? Just look at the United Kingdom. The Parliament of the United Kingdom has a membership of over 650 elected members. But they have a cabinet of some 30 to 40 members. Obviously, all of them cannot be a minister. That would be an absurd proposition. And we have to mature in our politics. We have to develop our country by creating the right precedents, the right conventions. No matter how disappointing you may be with politicians, you must never ever give up on what is right, what is proper, and what is in the interest of this country. Never do that. But more pointedly, I believe it would have been an unfair burden to our country to have had two former prime ministers in the cabinet along with its current prime minister, and the two former prime ministers would have been Stevenson King, myself, and the current prime minister, Philip J. Pierre. Why should we burden a country with that kind of membership simply because we were former prime ministers? As I said to you, I have always believed that I have an overriding responsibility to the St. Lucia Labour Party to encourage it to transition itself into the future. You know, I remember the night of the election in 2016. I was alone with two close friends. And when we lost that election, I felt a distress that I had never experienced before. I knew what would have happened to this country based on what I had heard on the platforms of the United Workers. I knew then and there that I had to resign and announce my resignation as leader of the St. Lucia Labour Party. There are those who criticized me within my own party, who said I abandoned the St. Lucia Labour Party, forgetting that these are normal precedents that occur on election night. But there's something else. They forgot that the St. Lucia Labour Party that I had led between 1997 and 2016 had reformed itself, had become so entrenched that I had made this Labour Party into a formidable political organization, into an unmatched political organization, and further, that it was strong, resilient enough to cope with my resignation because there was a mechanism created inside the party to allow someone else to manage the transition that would flow from my resignation. I say this tonight because I want those who have criticized me for my decision that night to get this answer from me tonight. Because I know who you are. And I do not offer it with malice. I offer it because when I entered politics in 1997, one of the most famous statements that I made about the St. Lucia Labour Party was that it was the mother of all political parties in this country. That all political parties coming after the Labour Party fed from the breast of the St. Lucia Labour Party. All of them, including John Compton's in LM, including John Compton's United Workers' Party, including even the PPP, all of them fed from the breast of the St. Lucia Labour Party. And what was inherited following 1997 was a political organization that was so strong that had changed and altered the politics of this country. And the reality is that fast forward to 2016, 17, 2021, the best way that I could have helped the government of the St. Lucia Labour Party was to allow Prime Minister Philippe J. Pierre to govern in his image, in his style, on his own terms, freely and unhindered by my presence. It would have been unfair for Philippe J. Pierre to have walked on eggshells just because I was around him casting my shadow. In short, I have never ever wanted to cast my shadow over the government of the St. Lucia Labour Party. I said earlier, I also have a responsibility to our country. Sometimes We have to set an example to say to the country that there is an alternative way to do things. And there are moments in Parliament when have had to subtly say this to my colleagues and to my fellow parliamentarians. What I can tell you tonight is that I hope that my experience has been helpful and that all political parties, no matter their color and their hue, learn to handle their backbenchers far more constructively and respectfully than has been the case. There will be backbenchers in the future. But this speech tonight is not about my legacy. You see, my legacy is about you and it is about the country. How did I make a difference to this country since 1997? I just heard a cell phone. Just heard it. Ringing. And I remember it was the government that I led that had the courage to terminate the license of cable and wireless, to pave the way for deregulation, so that today every solution walks in this country, sometimes with 2 cell phones. That's what legacy is about. How did you change a country? Tonight is not a farewell speech. That will come much later. Because when my farewell speech comes, it will be a speech of adulation and respect for you. Because what I ascribe to you tonight is not enough to thank you. Tonight is a night to tell you that I have arrived at a delicate juncture in my life. I have no regrets having made the decision to represent you these past years. It has had its pain, frustrations, and disappointments, but so too, it has had its moments of joy and glory. The truth is, if I had another opportunity, I would do it all over again. You see, I have always believed in you. I know what you have gone through. I know your pain. I know why you feel marginalized in this country. I know why you feel you're being treated unfairly. I know all of this. And it takes someone with unique qualities to understand all of those things. But it also takes a political party like the Solution Labour Party to understand those things. The United Workers' Party can never ever understand you because their agenda can never ever speak to you, to your wants, to your needs, to your desires, to your hope, to your dreams. That can never happen. Never. But there comes a time when realism must speak. I have always vowed to myself that if the Lord allows it, and I live to 75 years, it would be a defining moment, a defining age. As I said to you earlier, I want to repeat myself, because sometimes it is only by repeating yourself that the message can become clear and the message can be understood. I am grateful for those years. I give thanks to you, I give thanks to the Almighty. I also give you thanks and praise